Early Romantics, the French Revolution. The French Revolution, spanning from 1789 to 1799, marked a tumultuous period of significant ideological, political, and social transformation in France and across Europe. It witnessed the profound reshaping of the French political landscape, which had long been characterized by absolute monarchy, feudal privileges, and the influential role of the aristocracy and Catholic clergy. This era of change was driven by Enlightenment principles that championed republicanism, citizenship, and individual rights. However, these shifts were accompanied by widespread unrest, the reign of terror marked by executions and suppression, as well as extensive conflicts with major European powers. At its core, the revolution began as a grassroots revolt against the king's autocratic rule and the entrenched privileges and wealth of the aristocratic class. It was initiated in the name of liberty, equality, and fraternity, but paradoxically led to the erosion of personal freedoms, the rise of a dictatorial regime, and the surge of nationalism. The revolution harbored an aversion to tradition and a fervent desire to employ the state's authority to construct an entirely new societal order. This overhaul resulted in the transformation of individuals into citizens of the state. To quell resistance and enforce the new order, a staggering 18,000 to 40,000 individuals faced execution. However, the revolution encountered difficulties in establishing a stable and enduring governance structure. Over the following century, France underwent various forms of government, including republics, dictatorships, constitutional monarchies, two distinct empires, and a succession of different constitutions. Subsequent repercussions of the revolution included the Napoleonic Wars, the restoration of the monarchy, and further revolutionary movements as modern France evolved. The revolution's far reaching effects reverberated throughout Europe. It gave rise to the Counter Enlightenment and the Romantic movement in Germany as a response to the imposition of French rationalist culture. Germany's reunification was partly driven by a defensive stance against a potential resurgence of Napoleon's influence. The revolutionary ideals originating in France also served as a source of inspiration and influence for Marxist revolutionary movements, like the Bolsheviks in Russia, adopting the pattern of large-scale state-sanctioned executions. Notably, not all segments of society in France were supportive of the revolution, and a shared vision for governance remained elusive. Divisions between monarchists and republicans were deeply entrenched, making it challenging to establish a unified political framework. Nevertheless, the revolution played a pivotal role in promoting the concept of citizenship with associated rights and the notion that the nation belonged to its citizens rather than being the property of a ruler. It was a defining moment in history that propelled nationalism into the political forefront. Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine, known as a pamphleteer, controversialist, and international revolutionary, left a profound mark on history with his influential writings and revolutionary activities. His notable works encompass Common Sense, published in 1776. This 47-page pamphlet penned by Paine passionately advocated for the 13 colonies' independence from British rule. Written in clear, persuasive prose, it effectively marshaled moral and political arguments, rallying common people in the colonies to strive for an egalitarian government. Common Sense, issued anonymously, created a significant impact during the American Revolution, connecting independence with dissenting Protestant beliefs. The American Crisis. This series of pamphlets, issued from 1776 to 1783 during the American Revolution, provided timely inspiration to colonists involved in the struggle for independence. Written in accessible language, Paine's pamphlets reflected his liberal philosophy, emphasizing the need for proper reasons to support the American Revolutionary War. By appealing to the ordinary person and invoking references to God, Paine boosted colonial morale, engaged the British public in the war's consequences, clarified the issues at stake, and vehemently criticized advocates of a negotiated peace. The first volume famously begins with the words, "These are the times that try men's souls." The Age of Reason. This work, published in three parts in 1794, 1795, and 1807, aligns with 18th century British deism and challenges established religion and the Bible's legitimacy. Paine's arguments in the Age of Reason emphasize the corruption of the Christian Church and its political aspirations. rejecting miracles and presenting the Bible as ordinary literature rather than divinely inspired. Paine champions reason over revelation and promotes natural religion while arguing for the existence of a creator God. Thomas Paine's legacy has evolved over time. Initially, he faced vilification and dismissal during his lifetime and beyond. However, subsequent assessments have been more favorable. In 1937, the Times of London likened him to the English Voltaire, recognizing his intellectual influence. In 1952, Paine's bust was enshrined in the New York University Hall of Fame, underscoring his enduring impact on political thought and his advocacy for essential values such as liberty and reason. Edmund Burke. Edmund Burke, born in Dublin on January 12, 1729, began his career as the son of a solicitor. He pursued his education at Trinity College, Dublin, and later shifted to London for law studies, which he abandoned after a European tour. Settling in London, he had dedicated himself to a literary and political path, becoming a member of Parliament in 1765. Burke actively engaged in parliamentary debates, advocating for limits on royal power and parliamentary control over royal patronage and expenses. Amid tensions between Britain and the American colonies exemplified by the Stamp Act of 1765, Burke voiced concerns about British inflexibility and urged a more pragmatic approach. He believed in a cooperative government, emphasizing the importance of adapting to change while preserving traditional values. Burke displayed a strong interest in India, highlighting the need to address governmental corruption by eliminating patronage. He proposed independent London based commissioners to govern India but faced defeat in this endeavour, leading to impeachment proceedings against Warren Hastings, the Governor General of Bengal. The outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789 became Burke's primary focus. His hostility towards the revolution found expression in his work Reflections on the Revolution in France, published in 1790. The book stirred significant responses, including Thomas Paine's The Rights of Man. Burke's arguments warned against the perils of mob rule and the revolution's potential to undermine French society. He defended British virtues of continuity, tradition, rank, and property throughout his life. Burke retired from Parliament in 1794, and the loss of his only son marked his later years. Nevertheless, he continued to write and defend his views. His advocacy for long established constitutional conventions, political parties, and the independence of elected MPs remains influential. He is recognized as a foundational figure in the British conservative tradition and passed away on July 9, 1797. In his early work, A Vindication of Natural Society, published in 1756, Burke engaged in a satirical critique of Lord Bolingbroke's deism, applying Bolingbroke's arguments against trivial religion to civil society and government. Despite its ironic intention, some readers initially missed this satire, prompting Burke to clarify its nature in the second edition's preface, published in 1757. Reflections on the Revolution in France, published in 1790, marked a pivotal shift in Burke's views on the French Revolution. Initially describing it as a wonderful spectacle, he later condemned it as a threat to European stability, driven by the rights of man, and destructive to established institutions. This work provoked responses, including Thomas Paine's rebuttal in The Rights of Man, which criticized Burke's portrayal of pre revolutionary France as out of touch with reality. Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft was a prominent English writer and a fervent advocate for women's educational and social equality, particularly known for her seminal work, A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, a foundational text in feminist philosophy. Born the daughter of a farmer, Wollstonecraft gained teaching and governess experience which influenced her ideas, explored in Thoughts on the Education of Daughters, published in 1787. She began working as a translator for London publisher Joseph Johnson in 1788, leading to the publication of works like Mary, a Fiction, published in 1788. However, her most mature work, A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, advocated for equal education for women and men. In 1792, Wollstonecraft left England to witness the French Revolution in Paris, where she lived with American Captain Gilbert Imlay. In 1794, she gave birth to a daughter, Fanny, and in the following year, distressed over her relationship's collapse with Imlay, she attempted suicide. Upon returning to London, Wollstonecraft resumed work with Joseph Johnson and became part of an influential radical group which included notable figures such as William Godwin, Thomas Paine, Thomas Holcroft, William Blake, and from 1793 onward, William Wordsworth. Her relationship with Godwin began in 1796, leading to their marriage on March 29, 1797. However, her happiness was short lived as she tragically passed away 11 days after giving birth to her second daughter, Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, famous for writing Frankenstein. Some of her notable late works include letters written during a short residence in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, published in 1796, a travelogue with philosophical insights, and Maria or the Wrongs of Woman, published in 1798, an unfinished novel serving as a sequel to A Vindication of Rights of Woman. Wollstonecraft's most renowned work, A Vindication of Rights of Woman, is considered one of the earliest feminist philosophical texts. It was a response to 18th century educational and political theorists who opposed rational education for women. Wollstonecraft argued that women's education should match their societal role as mothers and companions to their husbands. She maintained that women, like men, deserve fundamental rights and that treating them as property or mere adornments undermines society's moral foundations. This work emerged in a specific historical context, with Wollstonecraft's initial foray into the topic in 1790 with A Vindication of the Rights of Men, a response to Edmund Burke's reflections on revolution in France. Burke criticized British thinkers and writers who welcomed the early stages of French Revolution, likening it to England's Glorious Revolution in 1688. Wollstonecraft's response in Rights of Men asserted that rights should be based on reason and justice rather than tradition, challenging Burke's defense of tradition as a foundation for rights.